Hi everybody, Joyce from my craft room here. Today we want to show you some simple layering dies from Altenew, but we're going to shake things up a little bit by using some of Lindy's Stamp Gang's magical shakers on them to create some fun paper. Before we get started, I want to say special thanks to everybody at Scrapbook Expo for doing this event again. I mean, they're doing a great job and we sure appreciate it. And even more, we appreciate you taking some time today to spend with us. So we'll get started. Okay, of course we have a coupon code for you. It's Expo20, EXPO20. If you put that in the coupon box on our website, when you check out, you'll save 20% on your whole order, everything on the site except kits and laminators. So keep that in mind. The kit that we're featuring today includes these two die sets. This is the brand new Poinsettia 3D die set and the Monstera 3D die set. I mean, this one you'll use over and over and over again for all kinds of occasions. We are also including these three colors of the Magicals. Now we have in the shop 5 more colors, but we're not using those on the cards today, but they are on the shop if you're interested. They're $4.99, I think, a piece. The kit itself is $39, and the coupon code will be good for 2 weeks. Now, I have one other little bit of explanation, and that is this phone sitting in my forehead. We have a new toy. In an attempt to make these videos better, we're trying some new technology, so our one remaining challenge is the phone in my forehead. So sorry about that. Bear with us. And Geraldine just reminded me, if I didn't say it, the 20% coupon is good on everything on the site except kits and our heat laminators. So, okay. So we made 2 cards. These are the 2 cards. This one obviously features the 3D poinsettia, and this card features the beautiful Monstera 3D set. Now, I have used a couple of other things on these cards. The poinsettia also features this brand new die from Altenew. It's the Fancy Piece die. Really cute, and it's only $7.99. The Monstera is also featuring the Honeybee Garden Lattice layering dies for the background. I love this background, and I don't know if you can appreciate it, but it's really pretty. Getting some shadows here. And we've also used the Thinking of You, one of our very, very popular little mini expression dies from Creative Expressions. So those are not in the kit, but I'm sure you have plenty of sentiments and background dies you could use if you're not interested in those. Anyway, so that's that. The first thing we need to do is to get out some watercolor paper. Now, I used just good old-fashioned regular cold press watercolor paper. And you want to use that with the Magicals because you want to make sure you've got a paper that's going to hold, deal well with that, with a lot of water, because we do use a lot of water. I also wanted to show you on the shaker bottles, one side is kind of like a little salt and pepper shaker top, and the other side is a bigger opening if you want to pour some out. I use this side to pour a little powder into my little bead tray here, and then dump that into a little mister bottle and added some water, so you can use any of the Magicals as sprays as well. So, but on the cardstock, on the watercolor cardstock, we're just going to sprinkle from the shaker side just tiny little bits of the powder. Now, in some cases, it's hard to even see. So we're going to put, this is called Cuckoo Clock Cardinal. That's the red. And we're going to add a little bit of the Grab-A-Guy Gold to one side of the paper because I want to get some orange-er tones on part of this. Because the fun of having these Magicals is that you can create papers with lights and darks, you know, different color variations. And then all we're going to do is spritz with good old plain old water. Now, you have options. You can just leave it like this. The color kind of bursts when it gets wet. You can let it air dry and you'll keep all that patterning on the paper. For my card, I didn't do that. I was going for more variations in the shade, not so much a pattern. So what I did is then I just kind of took my watercolor paper, moved it around. I think I'm going to move it around a little more here with some water. And if you see how you're getting all that variation in the colors. If you want part of it to be more red, just add a little more red, add a little more powder. And you can even take a paintbrush and kind of mix it up that way. So on this side, I'm going to have more of a red tone. On this side, I'm going to have more of a coral or orangey color because I added the gold. And of course, you could add all kinds of different colors. Now, the one thing that's particularly fun about the Magicals is the mica that's in them. There are lots of different pigment powders out on the market, and there have been for quite a while. But Lindy's puts mica in there, so you're going to get a really beautiful sheen or glimmer to your paper once it dries. It's kind of hard to see when it's this wet, but you're going to have to take my word for it on that one. So you can dry it with a heat gun. You can let it air dry. I don't think there's a whole lot of difference. Some people do, but I haven't found all that much difference from one method to the other. So there's the red. And then I'm going to show you the green. Because we're going to use the green on the poinsettia leaves. And on the Monstera card. And I did the same thing. On one side, I added some of the gold, so I'd get a slightly different green. And if you see, when you hit it with the water, can you see the other colors that show up? The blues, even a little bit of pink, yellow. That's basically because those are all the colors of pigment that you need to create this green as you see it on the lid of the bottle. So, we're going to do some moving and grooving here. And again, obviously the more powder you put down, the darker it's going to get. Okay. Alrighty. Now, one last tip on the magicals. Don't just mop up your work surface. Take some paper and scoop it up. Some combinations are better than others. Red and green is not what I would necessarily recommend, but just keep that in mind. You don't need to just mop up all that extra pigment and throw it in the garbage. You can mop it up and make some really pretty backgrounds. The magical shakers are a dye pigment. I should tell you that. They are not just regular pigment powder. They're dye-based, which means they're going to soak into the paper as opposed to resting on top. They're going to soak in, absorb into the paper, and that goes a long way toward the gorgeous intensities of color that you get. Okay, now, so you didn't have to sit here and watch me dry paper for 20 minutes. I went ahead and die cut some pieces ahead of time to show you how the card goes together. And I see I have misplaced my white mat. Where did I put it? Give me a second. Jer's going to cut me a 5 1/4 by 4 inch white mat. And while she's doing that, I'm going to put this poinsettia together. Now, I just used glue dots because you don't really need to, adhere the whole thing down flat. You really want it to have a little dimension. So I just take a glue dot, stick it in the middle of my poinsettia, and then I'm going to check the next layer. Decide where I want to place it. Thank you, my dear. Where do I want to place it? I guess right there. And stick them together. Now, if you can see, the really nice thing about this particular poinsettia die is you're not just getting the outline shape, you're getting all of this texture, all of the veining is kind of embossed and pierced into each of the petals. So gives it a really nice extra touch. And it makes it a little easier to shape them because of that kind of scored line down the center. So then I'm going to just take another glue dot, put that in the middle of this layer, there you are, and then a slightly smaller glue dot for the last 4-petal layer that goes on the top. Now I went ahead and positioned my dies on my colored watercolor paper so that one layer was more red, the next layer was more orangey, and back and forth, kind of like that. So, but obviously, whatever trips your trigger. And then you've got one last little layer for the center. Now, I took the other, the original bottom layer of the poinsettia, the die, and cut a piece out of the greens so that I could just add leaves to my poinsettia. I mean, we've all done this often where, you know, that's the beautiful thing about poinsettias is you can just use the same stamp or dye to create the leaves as you use for the flowers. Okay. And can you see how pretty that green is? It's pretty fabulous. All right. Okay. Too big.
Too big.
I need 5 1/4 by 4. Just one piece. Thank you. To adhere the piece word down, I'm just going to use my sticky dots that I've moved. Excuse me. Or maybe I won't. Anyway, you can use whatever it is if you want. But all you're going to do is, you know, adhere the back of it down on white. This is a leftover piece of the red that I colored with the Magicals. I decided I just wanted to use it for my mat. So, thank you, my dear. So we're just going to stick that there, put our poinsettia, hopefully, right there, and glue the piece down. All right. One other quick tip. I mentioned that you could use the powders in a sprayer to spritz, but you can also use them to splatter. So if you want more splatter on your flower or on your mat, you can go right ahead and do that. Okay, now we're running out of time, so I'm going to real quick show you the glorious Monstera. This one is super easy. There's a zillion dies in this set and a layering guide. All that's involved is to take the stemmed piece and then find the layer that matches it, and they're pretty obvious. You're just going to stick that right on there, which would be a lot easier if I hadn't put my sticky dots away. But it just sits right on there. Thank you. Sticky dots, $7.99, 8 sheets, 8.5 by 11. Just put your die cut on there, peel the cover sheet off, pick up your piece, and you're just going to lay it right on top, like so. And because you've used 2 different colors of the 2 different shades of the same green, we added some gold into the one side, you get, you know, a different look on your leaf. We're not going to have time to put these all together, but let me show you again how cute this is. The pot is part of the die set. I just cut the background to be a little bit darker color. And then you're just going to arrange them all your leaves in the pot, just like we did here. I popped up a couple of them on foam squares. The rest I just glued right down onto that mat. So, I think we're all good. Thanks for joining us. Check out the website, mycraftroom.com. Thank you.